Greetings, I am Tipit. How are you guys doing? So basically, here is my suggestion on how to get across with the most terrible specialist in the entire game. This specialist is so useless, there is only one game mode which is almost never played, especially on PC, in which it can actually be helpful. Now, if we exclude that game mode, there is about no reason ever to use this specialist. Okay, I'm talking specifically about the Nomad's Rejack. Rejack, what in the world is a Rejack? The whole idea of Rejack is that you fall on the ground and then you can step right back up. But the problem is that the game was absolutely adamant to say, listen, you're going to get back up, but we're going to increase your chances of dying instantly as much as we can. So here is my suggestion and my analysis of the worst specialist in the game. If you can tell me some other specialist you consider is worse, please tell me. Explain your idea, because I can't think of anything that is worse than a Rejack. Okay, so first of all, what happens when you what happens when you're using Rejack? Okay. Well, obviously, the enemies all see that you're rejacking, obviously, automatically. As soon as you get killed and you have a fully loaded rejack, okay? Which, by the way, doesn't load very, very fast. It's decently fast, but it's nowhere even near the Ripper speed or anything of that sort of thing. You fall on the ground, and you have, as soon as you get killed, like, before even falling, while you get killed, like, the game understands, hey, this guy's dead, you get this gigantic this gigantic smoke cloud of a giant fart, and you're just there. It's so obvious. You just look across the battlefield, you see a guy that has this giant green fart around him. You know this guy has a rejack capability, and it's so deathly obvious. What is this? Like, I mean, if somebody doesn't see this, he is an idiot or a total noob. Like, he doesn't know what the game is, because, like, it's so obvious. So, that's the first problem, is it's super obvious. The second problem is, how in the world is rejack even helpful? Think of it. You get right back up, and you count a death, and you lose your streaks. How is that helpful? I mean, you're just getting... It's not like if you're talking about an incredibly large map. Okay, so if you're talking about Battlefield, I could see it being helpful, because not only could you have been sniped from really far away, therefore you have a chance of actually getting up and surviving, but you also need to get to a position so it's far away, so you rejack. But for crying out loud, it's COD. It's so close range. Like, the guy is going to be, like, if you respawn right now instead of clicking Q, also it makes you take so much longer to respawn if you don't click Q. You gotta hold R. You know, it's ridiculous, but, like, you have to come across the same distance. It's not that hard. Like, there's no gain from rejacking. There is nothing interesting unless you're playing Search and Destroy. It's the only reason, the only way, the only thing that could actually make it interesting, considering you only have one life. But for crying out loud, you lose your streaks and you count a death. It's not like you could be a really great player that would just, like, go around and, like, get rejack all the time every time he dies, and so he basically never dies. No, you know, it's not. So here are my two suggestions on how to make this terrible specialist better, okay? So first of all, we're going to start with, this is my favorite idea, okay? I think this idea would actually make the game really stinking awesome, okay? It's similar to the Dead Ringer from TF2, okay? So when you get killed, when you have rejack, this is my suggestion. You fall down to the ground just like any other normal player. You have nothing around you that tells everybody in the entire world, hey, I just farted. That means I'm going to try to get up. You know, there's nothing of that. Like, you just fall on the ground dead. And of course, you know, if there's a specialist that kills you, as usual, you can't rejack. But, like, you fall on the ground dead, and the only thing that happens, okay, is that you get a blue light when you rejack. That would make it so cool. Imagine you just get up, like, silently behind the guy that just killed you, and you just stab him. That, or if you want to try to, like, balance it out, whatever, make it so that there's also a sound effect. So there's a blue light, like, you know, the normal stuff, and there's also a sound effect. I think that'd make it sort of interesting. But the other thing is that would make it really cool. Think of it. You go out there, and yes, you get killed, you lose your streaks and all, but you can become an assassin, basically. This would be a good idea. To be honest, think of it. This could be so much better if the Ripper specialist didn't have that invisibility power, and instead would get the Rejack capability, but a silent Rejack. That would make it so much more assassin-like. That would make it really cool. Think of that. That would be so much better. And instead, you could have the Trapper with invisibility, because dude, he's trapping. He's trying to camp with hives or something. He's gonna be trapping. It just makes more sense, I feel. But whatever. That's just a side note. Whatever. So now my second suggestion. First was, you know, you're silent, or it almost doesn't show, so that make it really cool for different game modes, especially Search and Destroy. Think of that. You just zoop right behind the guy, because people just sit there and you just shoot your body, and because of the green cloud, so it's obvious, but whatever. And you can't rejack while they're doing that. But second suggestion, now, both of these suggestions I think are really great, but you can't combine them. If you combine them, it actually makes it OP. I mean, I would like to see them combined. I would like to see something that game-changing. I mean, the Ripper and the Firebreak exist, so for crying out loud, how bad could this be? But whatever. My suggestion is that you don't lose your kill streaks, or you don't count a death. So when you fall on the ground there, you do not count as a death, or you don't lose your kill streaks. Probably the best one would be that you don't lose your kill streaks. I think that'd be an interesting idea. But if you want to do both of them, so you don't lose kill streaks and it doesn't count as a death, I think that would maybe be a little bit. No, actually, you know what? Forget it. It's actually a good idea. Just increase the time to load it up so that people just don't like fall on the ground dead all the time and then rejack. And that could be interesting, actually. But, of course, you don't want to combine that with my previous suggestion of making them soundless. Because, like, you would have dead bodies popping up all around the place. Because at this point, if you look at the specialists, you have 8 specialists that people normally use. And you have 1 on those 8, which is possibly a rejacker. But about 75 or even more % of the time, they're using hives. Nobody uses Rejack. For crying out loud, it's the most useless specialist. There's nothing interesting about it. But imagine if you could become either silent, or you wouldn't lose your streaks, or you wouldn't get a death, or both of those, or all 3 of them. Now that would make it actually stinking awesome and totally throw the game apart. You don't know if the guy that you just killed is a hiver or not. You have to keep that in mind. So that's about it. That's my suggestion, and these are my thoughts. You guys tell me what you think. Thank you for listening. Have a good one, and join the Scrublo Squad with the subscribe link.